SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
What's up, everybody? Welcome in on this Sunday night. It is January 4th. Ole Miss is still playing football. I hope all of you have now officially recovered from your time in New Orleans. Oh, voice is cracking a little bit. Forgive me. Hope you've recovered from your time in New Orleans, because it's back to reality for a lot of you. But based on conversations I've had all day, there is a metric ton of you that are making the trip to Arizona, because how could you possibly want to miss something like this? But tonight we're starting with the transfer portal. The portal window is open, and again, it's very frustrating for the Ole Miss organization that they have to deal with the portal while also playing. But I don't think anybody's going to feel bad for them, because it's a pretty awesome thing that they're still playing football. But so far, the portal has been so good to Ole Miss. I'll tell you about the 4 portal additions that they have brought. Also, that they brought in so far. Also, Pete Golding addressed the staff situation. They had practice today, and there's a lot there. So we'll talk about that as well on this edition of the show. So glad that you guys are here. Of course, my name is Michael Borky. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Just search Rebel Report and subscribe, and leave a rating and a review if you like what you hear. And also right here on YouTube, leave a comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And let's just get right into it. 4 defensive players so far in the transfer portal. Hosted offensive guys over the weekend. I expect there to be some movement on some of those as well. But for now, officially, there's 4 defensive players, and it started with Jay Crawford. I believe that was the first one that went official, the defensive back from Auburn. And this is one, he's ranked as the number 2 cornerback in the portal, according to On3, although the next player I'll tell you about, I don't like his ranking at all. That one doesn't make much sense to me. But starting with the one, Jay Crawford is somebody that I'm very excited about for this Ole Miss defense. Obviously has SEC experience and has been well coached. People see Auburn and they think, oh, why would you want somebody from Auburn? You know, I got a friend text me that was like, why are people excited? Auburn sucked this year. It's like, hey, buddy, defensively, no, they did not at all. This guy in particular is a really, really good one. And, I mean, Ole Miss, I think you have a pretty solid core and foundation returning in the secondary anyway. But this is a guy that up until this point, I thought this year's team was kind of missing, is this caliber of true cornerback. I think that most of the season we talked about, there were some lacking things in the defensive secondary. They played pretty darn well by and large on Thursday, but this guy is the type of player that I think that they're missing on this year's team. A huge pickup is Jay Crawford. Another guy, Keaton Thomas, the linebacker from Baylor. I do not understand why he is only a 3-star transfer. In 2 years, he has 219 tackles, 14 TFLs, and a pair of picks as well. When you watch, I know it's just highlights, but when you watch him, he is extremely impressive. And so this is somebody that a lot of people wanted, an instant impact, plug-and-play type guy. There won't be any kind of growing pains, or at least I don't think there will be any kind of growing pains transitioning to the SEC. That you get sometimes in the transfer portal. This guy is a high-quality player, 2 years of eligibility, as I understand it, remaining as well. Just super productive. Just flashes speed, but he's also a big dude too. 6'2", 230, but man, he can run and he can play. And that's a really, really big pickup, especially considering that they're losing some pieces on linebacker. I have not yet seen an announcement on Daugherty. Maybe he could go to the NFL. He's been an absolute workhorse for that Ole Miss defense. Played a ton of snaps, been the captain of that defense. I was told a couple of weeks ago that he expressed strong desire to stay. I don't know why there hasn't been an announcement yet. There's a lot of guys that they already know are staying that they haven't announced yet. But again, maybe he, tests the NFL waters. I don't think he's quite ready for that yet. But they need somebody alongside Daugherty for next year. And this is a guy that you would assume you can plug right in and boom, there is your starting linebacker. He is that good. The next one, a defensive end, Jonathan Maldonado. He was with Nevada, and this is a guy I don't know much about, to be honest with you. So the only thing I can really add is one, he is a guy that plays a position where I do think Ole Miss should have a pretty solid pair of players returning anyway. I know there's been some talk about Prince Will and LSU. I know you shouldn't read into social media. There was a Will Eccles Instagram post that might make you think that Prince Will is staying. There's some positive conversations happening about the possibility of him returning. Again, I know there's been talk about LSU really pushing for him. So we'll see. Obviously, he doesn't play true end anymore, but Perkins returning as well. Cam Franklin appears to be somebody that will be coming back as well. So possibly a depth piece, but maybe not. I mean, was really productive this year. His stats went way up from the year before, possibly the late bloomer type, and apparently Texas A&M wanted him. And so sometimes you got to trust the evaluations, and Pete Golding and that defensive staff in particular have done an exceptional job at evaluating talent. But sometimes when you're not familiar with a player, you're like, I don't really know who this guy is. Look at who else wants him, and that tells you a lot. And if it isn't true that Texas A&M did in fact want him, then that probably tells you that he is a quality prospect worth bringing in. And again, at this point, it's hard to question the portal evaluations of Pete Golding. And then finally, I know I'm not mentioning Jaheim Otis. I have only seen that Ole Miss is like the team to watch, not that he is transferring to Ole Miss and that decision has been finalized. I'm very curious about that one. His production has not matched his talent, but there's familiarity with Pete in Alabama. Maybe a prove-it type contract for a depth piece and a talent ceiling that is pretty rare. And if it works out, great. If not, you've already got your interior of your defensive line starters anyway currently on your roster. So maybe that's what that is, but I have not seen that become official yet. So finally, Florida defensive back Sharif Denson also committed to Ole Miss. I am a little bit higher on Crawford than I am Denson, but an SEC experienced depth piece for the secondary, a guy that others wanted within the league as well, is obviously a quality pickup. I mean, here's how you know that the portal is going good for Pete Golding right now is when you're talking about a guy with his level of experience in the SEC, and you're not like, wow, what a huge pickup. You know that you've got a system in place and a coaching staff in place that just does an incredible job in the transfer portal. So add it to the list of things that Golding and staff have done since the coaching change and what they've had to navigate: signing day, playoffs, winning playoff games, coaching stuff. And now the portal window opens and bang, 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 they get 4 super quality commits on defense. And guys, like, they have picked up. There's not many of them out there of this quality in the transfer portal. Again, there will be more. There will be offensive players. The quarterback situation is fascinating as hell. The Trinidad waiver is still very much up in the air. They're hashing it out publicly at this point with Tom Mars taking to Twitter. And we'll see on that. There's a lot of conversation about Deuce Knight. So a lot more to be done in the transfer portal, a lot more work to be done in retention, but so far, really, really good when it comes to the additions that they have added. All right. The next thing, they had a media op over the weekend. A lot of really good quotes. You guys should seek those out, especially one from Will Eccles in particular. Not only has he been impressive on the field, but he's pretty low key with the media. But he will, if you listen closely, he is thoughtful. And so good quotes from him today. But obviously, the conversation, the talk has been about the staff. I told you guys on the radio show on Friday that there was a rumor that only Weiss would come back. Chase Parham tweets as much. Apparently, Kevin Smith has returned along with the expected Charlie Weiss Jr. When it comes to the other staffs or the other members of the staff, I don't know officially, although we did get word from one of the players that Patrick Carter is serving as wide receivers coach. So that would tell you that George McDonald not coming back. Pete was asked about it a bunch. Frankly, got kind of annoyed at the amount of questions. And you guys should watch his press conference because his annoyance wasn't necessarily at the media. His annoyance was, that's not a problem. Are you watching the team play? I'm not worried about whoever the hell's in Baton Rouge. You can talk about it. That's fine. But this, I'm not worried about it. Basically was the mood of his frustration was, why do y'all keep asking me about this? They're fine. I'm not worried about them. But also in that press conference was Pete Golding laid the foundation of the ball being in Lane Kiffin's court when it comes to whether or not the staff members return. Charlie Weiss Jr. was always coming back. That if it jeopardized his job at LSU, he was still going to come back. Charlie Weiss Jr. was never not going to finish this, even if it meant angering his new employer, frankly. He was always going to come back. But what Pete did in that press conference, I would encourage you to listen to it, was say, I expect them all back, but they don't work for me anymore. So I don't employ them. I expect them all back, basically saying, hey, I want them to coach. I expect them to coach. It's up to them whether or not they come here and coach. And I guess not everybody is back. And so what that did, and there was very few people hanging on to the idea that LSU and Kiffin were being merciful and allowing, they care so much about the players. Look at them doing the right thing by the players. And those very few people that actually tried to pretend like that was reality. And that's what it was. That was pretending. Nobody, even those that cover LSU, actually thought that it was out of the kindness of his merciful heart. It's very obvious now that somebody did not think that Ole Miss would have won the Sugar Bowl and still have been playing football at this point. Somebody thought, and maybe from the very beginning when he was trying to fight to keep coaching the playoffs, that they would probably beat Tulane and they would lose the day before the portal opens. And look at how merciful Kiffin was, but you just can't win at Ole Miss. And the staff's coming back and the portal's open and, hold that tiger. It's clear that that was the expectation, because now that didn't happen, not only is there a bizarre Twitter behavior, but there's always bizarre Twitter behavior. The staff situation has gotten bizarre too. Again, you don't have to worry about Charlie. That was always going to happen. But the up in the airness of it is really making him look bad. Unless every single LSU coach comes back to coach this team, it really makes him look bad, because Pete Golding on record straight up said, I expect them back. I want them back. I don't employ them anymore. And so if you're going to push I care about the players, all that stuff, if you're going to push that and then they don't all come back, you lose even more. And the public perception of Lane Kiffin could not be really any worse than it is right now after Ole Miss keeps winning without him. But now this staff thing is continuing to make Ole Miss's former head coach look even worse than he did before. So like Patrick Carter, the players clearly love him. They talk about him glowingly. Look at his resume. His resume is a really good one. There's very little, frankly, that George McDonald leaving or staying changes at all. It doesn't change anything at all. When it comes to being prepared for this game. So Patrick Carter's got that. As we talked about a couple weeks ago, they've been kind of preparing for this. The LSU guys have missed some things anyway. They've had people serving in interim roles. They've been prepared for this possibility. They've been working through this. They'll be fine. And again, go listen to Golding's frustration about the questions, because he believes that it's not even a thing. It doesn't matter if they're there or not. He would like them to be there, but they have an infrastructure in place that they are supremely confident in getting ready for this game this week, with or without a couple of the LSU assistants that aren't really adding much to the fold anyway. Kevin Smith coming back is interesting. I don't understand it. Part of me wonders if it's all about Kewan, and Lane is allowing it because he wants him to be close to Kewan. I don't subscribe to the idea that, well, tampering, it just doesn't matter. I mean, the decision's already been made one way or the other, so it doesn't matter if he's around, because you can't say, well, the decision's been made, but also they're still negotiating. That doesn't make sense. If there's still a chance that he stays, then that means he hasn't decided that. You know what I mean? That doesn't make any sense. You're saying that the decision's already been made, but also they have a chance to keep him. That doesn't make sense. He's either staying or leaving, but if all of the tampering has been done and all the hay's in the barn and all that stuff, I don't necessarily buy that, because there still will be more offers made. There's still a decision to be made. I don't know. I know that Ole Miss is financially ready and equipped to do what it takes to keep Kewan Lacey. Kewan Lacey gave some good quotes today. If you want to read into stuff, you should feel good about what he had to say today. I don't know. Frankly, I have no idea. It is a bizarre situation that Ole Miss continues to handle beautifully, and the players continue to handle beautifully. And if Lane Kiffin doesn't want to let staff members come back, then he will look bad. I've questioned their role for weeks now. I've wondered, how valuable are they actually? And it doesn't sound like very much. So I don't know if some of them don't come back, if they're going to be missed. We'll see. Podcast brought to you in part by Advantage Business Systems. Check them out online at absms.com. Advantage Business Systems has you covered. If you are a Mississippi business and you need office technology, check them out online at absms.com. Tell them I sent you. You'll get a complimentary office technology assessment. absms.com. Also, Priority One Bank, they make you their priority every single day with their online banking platform. You can do whatever it is that you need to do with your money right there. They have local loan servicing and decision-making, so you don't need to get on Zoom or deal with an automated system. Somebody right there in your backyard, because Priority One Bank makes you their priority. Switch and bank with me at Priority One Bank. To the comments we go. If you aren't going to Arizona, you should do a live watch party. So I am not going to Arizona. I have radio show obligations, and traveling, making that trip would already have been super expensive, but also trying to figure out, 3 to 6 every day this week with radio equipment, traveling with that just would have been a lot. Too quick of a turnaround to make that happen. I won't do a 4-quarter watch party, because I want to watch the first half with my son before I have to put him to bed. So it depends on how the game is going. Might go live for the sake. Well, we'll sit on that for a little while. It'll depend on how the game's going. How about that? What's up? Glad to see you. Glad you were at the Sugar Bowl. That's the greatest game I've ever seen in person. Absolutely electric in the Superdome. And especially because both teams just kept landing haymakers, right? It was, and it wasn't just like just a standard offensive drive either. It was Trinidad magic. It was Stockton's toughness. It was big play, crazy decision from Kirby Smart. It was fourth down conversion from Georgia, double digit or two-score comeback for Ole Miss, two-score comeback for Georgia. It was so many extreme highs that made that just incredible. And of course, the sheer volume of Ole Miss fans and the noise that you guys made was special. Is the Giants' position better than a coordinator in college football for Weiss? 100% yes. 100% yes. Going to the pavilion to watch. Yeah, it is going to be the basketball team struggling a little bit. The basketball crowd Wednesday versus the football crowd in the same building on Thursday is going to be an unfortunately kind of funny picture. Flights to Phoenix are a nightmare, driving with a group 3.5 hours to Little Rock to fly to the Fiesta Bowl. Dang. So I know Southwest has been doing direct flights with their partnership with the SEC, but yeah. Do you think they'll have a top 10 portal class? I would bet on it. Do you believe John David Baker will be as good as Weiss was? That's a good question because Weiss is really showing his value, and he's really showing who did the heavy lifting in that offense. I think he can be. I would like to see it in the SEC first, but it's a very similar offense. He did very good things at ECU. Defensively, expecting or seeing the success in the portal, that should be a really good defense next season. I think it should be a better one. The guy from Baylor will be a beast. His 3-star ranking is just nonsense to me. But hey, Jackson Arnold was a 5-star last year because that made sense for sure. So someone said flights out of Jackson are close to $1,500. Goodness gracious. Here, let me see. Jackson missed to Phoenix, right, is where I would fly. And I would leave, let's call it Wednesday, come back Friday. You can fly American for $1,000. My goodness. I've got a buddy he's leaving, I guess, from here and flying one place to another to Phoenix. He's got 4 flights he's got to take to get to Phoenix. It's nuts. But I do think that the crowd percentage will be very similar to what it was in the Superdome. John David Baker is good. He recruited Jackson Dart to Ole Miss. He's good. He did good things at ECU as well. Never thought you'd see the day where they're in the semis, especially with not Kiffin. So as a fan, I'm absolutely soaking in this amazing moment. Enjoy it. Need Peter to land some offense. I think by this time tomorrow, you'll have some offensive answers. Thoughts on Levy handling Kamario Taylor's injury situation in the bowl game and state avoiding a disaster injury. Also thoughts on him going into next year. That whole thing with him, Hunter, was kind of odd, right? I mean, he's cramping when the game starts. I don't know this answer, but I mean, you hope that he was sick or something, because your franchise quarterback, as it is now, should not be dehydrated at the start of a game. He should have been playing at that point in the game. The idea that he should have been in anyway. Yes, he should have. Absolutely should have. It looked gruesome. Glad he's okay. I'm very high on him. There's a lot of talent there. I do think that there is a lot of growth that he needs to do, though, throwing the football. There's a ceiling that is incredibly high, and he's not close to that ceiling yet. A full off season, a full spring practice of work being the guy should help. That offense is really good for him. his accuracy and consistency too can, and you hope improves, but super impressed with the athlete and was very happy to see that injury that looked horrible is certainly not horrible. I was very happy to see that. Like the jokes that Ole Miss and Miami will be the BTA World Championship. Yeah. Now, why does LSU need Charlie Weiss and Kevin Smith back? I thought LSU recruited itself. Wish could have held on to Simmons. Would rather have him as QB1 next year. I want to be careful because I don't want to be disrespectful. The turnovers are a huge issue. I know it was his first starting experience, and he handled everything with class. His price tag to keep him, in my opinion, would not be worth the risk of a guy that is as turnover prone as he is. I know, super athlete, great dude, handled everything so well, does not protect the football enough to justify what it would have costed to keep him. In hindsight, Kiffin attending the game would have been hilarious. It kind of would have been funny now. Although I think he would have left once he saw Ole Miss came back. Yeah. So much to process. The portal to the playoffs, all fun, but also stressful stuff. Can't imagine how the coaches are balancing everything. There's a lot of them. That helps. That helps a lot. That there is just a sheer the volume of staff that they have is pretty incredible. And I mean, that's what you have a GM for. That's what you have recruiting staffers for. That's what you have analysts for. There's enough people there to balance it all. It's tough, but I mean, there's a reason they get paid what they get paid now, right? You got late nights in the office. You got late nights in the office. But yeah, it's a lot to balance. It really is. Seems like all the fans are wishing Simmons the best. Just didn't work out, and that's okay. He's nothing but class. Yeah, the reception he got in the first playoff game was pretty cool. Thoughts on Miami? Ooh. It's a fascinating matchup because Carson Beck is fine. They run the football really well, and they're very, very, very good up front on both sides of the ball. But they're going to try to run the football right at Ole Miss, and they're going to try to create havoc defensively. I think that this is the best defensive line that Ole Miss has seen this year. And Ole Miss has seen really good defensive lines, don't get me wrong, but this is a highly productive one. A very good defense, very similar to Oklahoma in terms of talent and production and things like that. They're very, very good. Ole Miss's front six is going to have the same kind of game that they had on Thursday, absent one drive, as Miami's going to test their manhood. So this will be a big Eccles, Xavier Harris type game. Daughtery's going to have to be really good. Andrew Jones is going to have to be really good. Cam Franklin's going to have to be. The front six is really going to have to excel. But if you can get them into third and medium to long, I really like Ole Miss's chances in this game. I think Ole Miss has the clear advantage at the quarterback. I think offensive explosiveness, Ole Miss greater than Miami. But Miami's really going to be able to run the football. They're really going to get after Trinidad. I think the quick passing game is something that Ole Miss is very good at, but it's vital for it to be effective in this game because long developing pass plays, which again, they don't really do much with Trinidad anyway. Don't expect that. I do think Miami's going to create a lot of havoc. This is a very fun matchup, a very good team that's playing with a lot of swagger, a lot of nasty. Yeah. I'm excited about this one. Daughtery doesn't strike you as an NFL guy. I think he can make a roster. I would not be surprised if he spent some time in the NFL playing a whole lot of special teams. With the Rebs getting some LSU coaches, players, and personnel, do you think that they will have similar results as they got at LSU? No, I do not. I don't know. Brian Kelly was a major problem. That roster was not near as bad as people are telling you that it was. They're only saying that to feel better. Because it's so funny how the roster was awesome. It was so good. Man, look at how good this LSU roster is. Whoo, boy. When they're going to go to – do you think they're going to go to Oxford and lose? Man, LSU is so much better at every position than Ole Miss is. It's funny how that shifts to, this team and the roster sucked so bad. It was very talented, extremely talented, flawed, but really talented. And Brian Kelly mailed it in. I was never impressed with him anyway. I never thought he was good. Most overrated coach in college football. That's something that I said, and I got pushed back on from, at the time, the two guys on the other guys on the radio show thought I was crazy for thinking that he was overrated. He wasn't going to win at a high level there. That was a coaching issue. That was not a talent issue. How much crowd advantage? You're thinking 70%? Somewhere around there. Yeah. Thoughts on State getting Kelly Jones back. Hunter, do you know what this podcast is, man? I really like him a lot. I am surprised that his NFL grade is not higher. But getting him back is massive because he is the type of player that can remove a third to a half of the field just by his presence. Ole Miss didn't test him at all. That didn't throw in his direction at all. So if he has another year like that, yeah, he can very easily play his way into the first round. I can't believe he hasn't already. Austin with the super chat. Thank you, man. Really appreciate it. Can't believe you're saying this, but a win away from playing for a national championship in football. Pinch me, I'm dreaming. It's still hard to wrap your mind around. Don't know much, but based on Harlem Berry staying and what Lacey has said, the momentum seems to be that Kewan will stay in Oxford. That's what it seems like, right? I mean, there's absolutely no way. If Harlem Berry had an advisor, and I mean, unless he is totally fine with getting 14 carries next year, anybody advising him, telling him that, hey, if you want to play next year, you don't stay at LSU if Kewan Lacey is coming because you won't play. How do you know that? Kevin Smith, look at the sample size. They don't rotate backs. They don't play multiple backs. They don't do it. That's just what history tells you. So if he wants to be RB1, if that's his desire, it's not going to happen there. And even if you're comfortable getting backup carries, you don't get backup carries under Kiffin and Kevin Smith. They don't give them. Pete really shouldn't be losing any defensive players. It's the portal era. You're going to lose some. It's just what happens. Some guys want a lot more money than they're worth, and so they'll tell them, thank you for your service, and I'll see you later. LSU offering Carneiro and Bird to leave Ole Miss is hilarious. Now Carneiro has the best kick in Ole Miss history, the best 3 kicks in Ole Miss history. It just kind of goes – it shows you a lot is what it does. Would love to see Keith do something to honor the fans after this run ends. Oklahoma State and Sugar crowds were incredible. Yeah. Missed baseball in Omaha in 22, simply trying to budget, of course, but this cannot be missed, and it's the first time ever in the Fiesta Bowl. I would drive if I had to. I would. Do we know anything about Daugherty? Would have thought that he would have heard about him re-signing by now. Same with Caden Lee. They've only announced 4. They know more are coming, or already have. I would be surprised, shocked, if Daugherty is not back unless he tries to go to the NFL. I mean, I heard back when the 4 guys announced that they were returning that Daugherty was like, yeah, me too, basically, internally. We'll see. Does UNC have any more offensive linemen they can steal? Pounds has been pretty darn good, huh? This game in Atlanta instead would be awesome, though it would, but you have a bigger crowd advantage in Phoenix. Almost bet we hear more about one's re-signing day or so before semis. The only downside to that, I guess, would be, does that start taking away from the game? Because if you announce 4 more players and Kiwan's not one of them, people are going to be like, why not? I don't know. Is Miami a tougher matchup than Georgia? I don't think so, but man, they're playing so well lately. Chris Lowe's tweet on Trinidad read like someone told him to say that. What did he say? Gotta find it. He has his tweets locked and he got hacked. Do I have the wrong profile? I don't. I mean, his account got hacked. Am I missing something here? You have to help me out. I don't know what to, because I'm looking at his profile right now and he got hacked. What's going on in Lake Charles? Thought Sorsby was going to LSU. Apparently, they're going to settle on Sam Leavitt. We'll see. Thoughts on Deuce Knight, where he might go since his best friend committed to Ole Miss? I think he will go to Ole Miss. I do. I would be concerned if he's the only one that they bring in. I don't think he will be. If Trinidad does not get his waiver, which was reported tonight that they're not optimistic that he's getting a waiver. He's super talented. But a guy with starting experience of Mercer, and that's it, would concern me some. Mike with the super chat. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate you. Know we have Maddox in the wings, and he looks good in practice reps. But if Trinidad doesn't get a waiver with Simmons in the portal, who do we see for quarterback next year? Deuce Knight, I think, is coming. And then I don't know. I mean, maybe there's somebody that's not in the portal yet that they might find a way to talk into getting into the portal. This waiver thing being what it is has created an issue for Ole Miss because they haven't been able to heavily pursue the top quarterbacks right now in the portal. So that has caused an issue. Yeah, Pete did not hold back when that lady kept asking him questions about staffing. Yeah, he's fed up, but not in a I'm mad about this way. He's like, why do you keep asking me? It doesn't matter. It's kind of way. Would drive to Miami if they did win the Fiesta Bowl. If they win the Fiesta Bowl, I will be in Miami. Oh, it wasn't Chris Lowe. It was Pete Thamel. You must just kind of be mistaken there. It was Pete Thamel that put this out there. In his string of tweets, his third one said, there's high stakes for Chambliss with the NCAA decision. He would be among the top players in the transfer portal and command millions for 2026 if he's allowed another year of eligibility. And I said on Twitter, that's either worded poorly or he should know better. Even if that is a copy paste from an agent or whoever telling him to say that, or from Lane Kiffin telling him to say that, he should know better than to word it that way. He should. Because unless he is reporting that if Trinidad wins his waiver, that Ole Miss is actively working hard for him to get. Ole Miss is trying to get him that waiver. And if it was known that he was leaving, Ole Miss will let the other school deal with it. So it's so terribly worded, and somebody in the scoops business should know that words mean something, but how just pathetic the scoops business has become is, I mean, that's a great example of that right there. He should know better, and he does not, or chose to word it that way, and that's unacceptable. Especially when Sam Levitt's in Baton Rouge tomorrow after LSU missed their first candidate. But I mean, there are so many people that cover LSU that are just talking as if, like, if he wins his waiver, he's leaving and going to LSU, and that is it's obnoxious, is what it is, because it's not a guarantee or anything close to that. But Miami's going to be tough, hoping they can keep Lacey, at least a couple of receivers, but it looks like Lane is taking – it doesn't look like Lane is taking everybody. Where'd you get that from? that is not at all what is happening. He can't take everybody. No, that's not even close to being true. Shipley and Wallace are off to the NFL. Caden Lee wants to stay. Daquan Wright off to the NFL. None of the offensive line, the starters, will go to LSU. I mean, there's talk that Deuce Alexander has signed a new deal with Ole Miss, and he has chosen to stay. So he gets Winston Watkins, and no, he's not taking everybody. Why would the NCAA want to give Trinidad to the NFL? He's worth millions to the NCAA in ticket and jersey sales. Are they stupid? Well, the NCAA they wouldn't get really anything from Trinidad's existence. They don't operate the postseason the way that they do the basketball postseason. Wow, I'm way behind on comments. Pete is playing the narrative in the best way possible. Put it on Lane's plate and let him try to figure it out. Absolutely. I'm going to have to skip a couple of these. Charlie Weiss isn't going back to LSU. I'd put a lot on that. There's a reason that NFL media started talking about him today. There's a reason for that. And that's not – it's amazing how people are so obtuse, where it's like, well, that's Ole Miss trying to get LSU back. You think that NFL media are running reports based on something that people from Ole Miss said? No, it's just nonsense. That is coming from somewhere, and it's not media manipulation. It's that doesn't happen for no reason. Don't think Chambliss is getting the waiver. Hopefully they can keep Austin. I don't think they're keeping Austin. I think that is done. Do we think that they have a real shot at getting LSU with the tampering thing that got put out yesterday? I hope so. Here's the thing about that, Brandon. I have not seen one single other person say that is what's going on. Nobody that covers Ole Miss has said that Ole Miss is building or is filing a transfer allegation, portal tampering. Now, I have not seen anybody else say that. People that are close to Ole Miss, I have not seen them say that, and nobody national has said that. So until that happens, I'm going to be skeptical that they're actually doing that. Maybe they are, but I will be skeptical. Ole Miss is at a disadvantage with the portal because they don't know who's entering until the last game. They have an idea. They have a really good idea. Seeing LSU fans crash out on Twitter at Lane tweeting while it looks more like they're losing Sorsby has been blissful. Oh, just wait until he does that after they lose a home game to Arkansas or something. Weiss said the Giants would be both a well-earned job and a clean break from the Kiffin mess. I'd respect that move a lot, and there's no buyout to go to the NFL. That would, especially with how things have gone and apparently how some feelings have been expressed, that would be the best possible situation for him. Can expect Deuce Knight to be the top prospect in the portal for Ole Miss unless things change. Yeah. So tired of the Kiffin was wronged mentality coming from the LSU camp. Yeah, this weekend ended that. Ended it. Yeah, that is a position that nobody can take anymore. It's over now. That what happened this weekend has ended that completely. It's over. What uniforms would you choose for Ole Miss to rock in the Fiesta Bowl? Seems like they're going with the powders. They did practice in Navy helmets today. I would go powder red gray. That's what I would do. See, and this is the point, Bo. If Kiffin's assistants can't balance both jobs, then how was this situation ever going to work allowing Kiffin to stay? So many hypocrites like Nick Saban have gone radio silent. And exactly, Bo. And that's the thing. That's what it tells you, that either A, the people that said that were doing so for a very specific agenda-driving reason, or B, did not think Ole Miss could win. Lane Kiffin didn't think Ole Miss could win on Thursday. There is 100% guarantee that he did not think that he could, because after they lost to Georgia, he's told people that he couldn't win games like that at Ole Miss. So, yeah, watching what you've watched unfold this weekend justifies Keith. Not that he needed justification. He was right the whole time. But anybody that was critical of Keith Carter looks foolish today. Every single one of them looks foolish today. Because there is a 0% chance that he could have balanced all of this. 0. He could not have done it. Here's what would have happened. They would have beaten Tulane and they would have lost to Georgia. That's what would have happened. There's no way he could have balanced all this. It would have been ugly. It would have been toxic. And it wouldn't have worked. The assistants can't even do it. He can't even get a couple of assistants to do it. No way he could have either. They would not have beaten Georgia. They would not have been in this situation. Keith Carter was right. Anybody that was arguing that, oh, it's all about the players, didn't know anything about what was going on behind the scenes at all. And frankly, it wasn't behind the scenes because the players spoke about it publicly. So anybody that argued that position was either ignorant or doing it for a very specific agenda, CAA reason. And that's it. Tickets for the Fiesta Bowl are going to end up pretty cheap. Yes, it will be pretty cheap. It will be. Trinidad said today there's false reporting out there. Hope he gets his waiver, but who knows? Yes, he did say that today. Let's see. Sorry, I'm going to have to jump, guys. I'm way behind on comments. So, when was the last time Ole Miss had a walk-off field goal to win the game? Kentucky last year, but it missed. What would it be, 2013 LSU? Let's see. Sorry. Flight is Little Rock, Salt Lake, then Phoenix. Wow. Flights from Nashville to Tempe are $400. Look at you, man. Got lucky. Wicked Brew with the super chat. Appreciate you, man. If you're interested, I'll give you my basketball tickets for Wednesday so you could be in Oxford for Thursday. No, see, that's the problem. Got to do the radio show. This is this is not what pays the bills. The radio show does. So I have got to be in the palatial SuperTalk studios here in Jackson on Wednesday and Thursday. I wish I could, though. And also, he's got school. School starts back this week. Miami's defensive line is going to be a huge issue. Also think they haven't faced a dynamic offense like this one or a quarterback like Chambliss. They have not on either. Charlie calling the plays did wonders. It shows who's behind the curtain. Not to mention Pete is missing from recruiting. LSU's melting down. There you go. You have a gut feeling about this game. I think as of now, Ole Miss will win this one, but it will be a big challenge. Wasn't big on Ohio State, though they were a little paper tiger on offense. They were huge paper tiger on offense the whole season. We talked about that going into the playoff. Frankly, I think Ole Miss is going to just line up and beat them. They haven't played an offense like this at all. And I think Ole Miss's front six will be up for the challenge to stop the run just enough. Defensive matchup will be similar to Oklahoma. Yeah. Diego Pounds quietly having an All-American season. Yeah, he got none of the accolades. That's why when they announced the whole trophy here in Mississippi, some Ole Miss fans got mad at me for saying that was the wrong recipient. It's not even the best offensive lineman on his own team. That award should have gone to Pounds. Only recently realized Ole Miss's offensive stats are like number 2 in the nation behind North Texas, Ohio State and Texas A&M and Notre Dame. None of them put up the numbers that Chambliss and the team has. Exactly. The coaching staff and coaching system is much bigger than people realize. It almost runs itself. The assistants to the assistants run it like the secretaries in a big office. And especially when those assistants are guys like Patrick Carter. I mean, you're not missing anything if McDonald's not around when you got a guy like that in the room already. Eccles will be a first-team All-SEC next season and a high second-round pick or bottom first. I think he has the chance to be higher than bottom first. Yes, if Trinidad does not get his waiver, you bring in another quarterback with Deuce. You need it. Not spoken of enough, but Harris was an absolute stud in the sugar. Absolutely. Talk about how good Braxton has been so far. Has to be the CB1. Yes, but I don't think he will be on next year's team, which is a big deal, by the way. Braxton and Crawford, that would be pretty special, I think. Having those two on either side. Doesn't matter how good the Miami defensive front is. Chambliss gets it out so quick. This is by design. Want them to blitz? Absolutely. Ole Miss wide receiver room is one of the best in the country, and they never get their due. Wallace and Stribling in particular are just awesome. I think you could argue it's the best in the country in terms of depth. Luke Hash should be back, right? He's a junior and did catch a touchdown in the Sugar Bowl. Obviously, Wright is done. Maybe Caleb Odom plays more there. Yeah, you've already got two. And I think they're both back. If you're the Saints, assuming they pick at 8, who do you pick? If it was me, I would draft Love as the next good running back. I would trade back. That's what I would do. Trade back or go, because with Kamara, and I really like Estime. Gosh, I like Estime a lot. I think I would trade out of it, try to get some assets. They never do that, though. They'll need a defensive end, maybe a wide receiver. Sorry, guys. I'm just having to scroll through some of these comments. You think they're already working on a 30 for 30 on the Ole Miss LSU Kiffin saga? It needs to be better than what aired earlier this year. Maybe they're trying to set it up, Tom Marsh, to threaten legal action because of loss of financial gain. Here's the problem with that. How long would that take? And how could any of these teams, including Ole Miss, wait? I mean, maybe Ole Miss would. You bring in Deuce, and if he loses his waiver, you try to go the legal route. And If he wins, great. If he loses, you ride with Deuce. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if anybody can wait. But also, I wonder, with another really good performance on Thursday, I mean, how much higher could Trinidad stock possibly be? Weiss's name has never been hotter than it is right now, because once he goes to Baton Rouge, it'll be Lane's offense again. An NFL move makes sense. Yeah. Miami has one of the worst pass defenses in the country. Not in the country, but it's certainly not their strength. Right? It's not one of the worst in the country. It's just not what they're good at. Ole Miss fans have been vindicated with the Sugar Bowl win. Absolutely. Every position that was anti-Keith Carter or anti-telling Kiffin to leave after he took the LSU job, every single one of those people were proven wrong. All of them. There is no more leg to stand on. Anybody that tried to paint Lane Kiffin as a victim, any of that, all of that is gone. All of it is removed. And the best part is, listen to the players after the Sugar Bowl. Listen to them talk today. They did not care about the guy. That's got to be a tough pill to swallow, too. There was very few, anyway, relationships there. So not only are they winning, they're thriving and they're comfortable, and there's so little drama, and they're just able to just relax and play football now instead of dealing with that. You can see that and you can feel that by listening to them. Yeah, Ole Miss was a few players short. That's it. They gave Georgia a free touchdown, screwed up a field goal, were the victim of multiple horrible penalties. I mean, they had 2 big drops for first downs also. Yeah, Ole Miss was better, just simply better. Do you think that game by Trinidad was the best single performance by a quarterback in Ole Miss history? Got to go back to the Archie days to find number 2. I agree. I think they lose the game with Lane. I really do. I really do. Part of me wonders if that was the plan the whole time. Pre-game plans Thursday radio show, Sports Talk Mississippi, 3 to 6. That's the pre-game plans Thursday. Airs statewide in Mississippi on 12 radio stations, online at supertalk.fm or at SuperTalk TV, where you can watch. That are the pre-game plans on Thursday. We might get booted off the air a little early because of the game broadcast, actually. But, yeah. Saw Josh Pate say this game will be like when Miami played SMU and the Hurricanes will win comfortably. That analysis didn't make much sense to me. It doesn't at all. Doesn't at all. Pigskin Pete did a great Miami defense breakdown with Neil earlier today. That remains just the best content out there. He's just under the impression Trinidad beat Georgia by himself. He did not. I mean, that's a non-ball knower take is what that is. Saw where the tight end Connor committed to Vanderbilt. I mean, I think Ole Miss is going to keep. I mean, maybe they don't, but what if Ole Miss hangs on to Haz and Odom? Tight end, if you do, is not like a desperate need, if that is the case. Wonder if Golding seeing Carson Beck for a third time means anything. I think it does. I think it means a lot. The longer they play, the better chance of keeping Lacey. I agree with that also. Any concern for the team coming off of such an emotional win into a short week to another game? How do you keep them level-headed? History with Ole Miss don't do well after big wins. But here's the thing, Willis. Nobody that played in any of those games after big wins are playing in this one. Nobody. Pete Golding has been in this exact position as a defensive coordinator, of course, but he's been in this position and he has seen how Nick Saban has operated. I don't think that there's any worry about whether or not they'll be able to lock in and focus on a semifinal game. Goes without saying, but Sean McDonough was amazing on the call the other night. He's the best big game announcer for football. He was freaking awesome. He was awesome. And I mean, I the voice inflections are kind of funny, but where I really like McDonough is how the way he calls big plays and how comfortable he is and pointed, like, and he doesn't allow the moment to get him to say nonsense, but he still like announces the moment as if it's big while also still, I mean, he is so good at the big plays, man. His call in particular, the long Trinidad scramble right throw to Wallace, like when he was just doing the backyard stuff. I mean, that's just a brilliant call, man. He's so good. That was one of the best called games I've ever heard. Sean McDonough is the best in the game right now. The best in the game right now. Loved his call. Just watched the cinematic recap from the media team. Smiled the whole video. The minute 30 around the Stribling catch, then the game winner was, yeah. What are your thoughts on the RB Durham? He's fine. You bring him in as a complimentary back. I don't think you bring him in as a starter. He was yelling on that call to Stribling. He was, but like it's still under control, right? Like he's yelling, like his voice is, but it's still very under control, and he still calls the moment. He's awesome. I'm a huge fan. I actually have a good friend that has played golf with him and said, like, behind the scenes, he's just all class and just a good, normal dude. And yeah. Weiss to the Giants. I don't know. I mean, look, the Giants don't have a coach yet. But the fact that that's already being floated out there, wouldn't be surprised if he's on some lists for other quarterback coach jobs in the NFL, not just the Giants. I mean, what he's done is very impressive. And I'm telling you, there's a reason his name went out there today. Who would win, Sean versus Chris? McDonough now. I love Chris Fowler. McDonough has passed him. McDonough has passed him. We've gone past an hour, and I got to go to bed. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for being here. We'll be back live on Tuesday. Portal stuff's going to keep happening, so we'll keep talking about it. I'm going to try to find – I don't know anybody that covers Miami, but I'm going to try to work on that and bring that to you guys as well. Thank you for being here. I'll talk to you Tuesday and have a couple extra stuff as well. See you guys then.
A SuperTalk Mississippi media production.